Hello and welcome to Literacy Through Art Classes via ArtSphere. My name is Maritza. Today's project will be transform any story into a graphic novel. So what I thought would be fun to do this week was take a story that you know really well. It could be your favorite story to tell when you're hanging out with friends, or your favorite scary story to tell when you're at a sleepover, or your favorite book to read, or a movie whose plot or storyline you know so well that you can recite it from the top of your head. And take that and turn it into a graphic novel. For those of you who don't know what a graphic novel is, it's a story that's told in comic strip format. Some popular examples of graphic novels that you might be familiar with are Captain Underpants or the Smile series. Those are graphic novels. And basically, graphic novels use more images to tell the story rather than a chapter book that uses almost exclusively words. So my idea was take a story that you know really well and turn it into a graphic novel. So, like I said, it can be fairy tales, it could be nursery rhymes, it can be a story that you really like, it can be a movie that you know really well. So for my example that I'm going to show you guys to kind of give you an idea of what I was looking for, I use Little Red Riding Hood, which is a story that a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. Little Red Riding Hood is going to visit her grandmother in the woods, and she comes across a wolf, and the wolf then figures out that she's going to her grandmother's and runs there first, eats the grandmother, and then dresses up in her clothes and pretends to be Little Red Riding Hood's grandma so that when she gets there, the wolf can eat her too. So I took that story that I knew from the top of my head. I didn't take it from any books or any movies or anything. It's just something that I knew. And I turned it into a graphic novel that I will show you in a minute. What you're going to need for this project is a comic strip template, like the ones that they use for graphic novels. I designed one for you, and I'm going to put a link to the format in the bottom in the description of this video so that you guys can access it and print it out if you like. And this is what it looks like. There are a couple of different formats that I created that you can print out, but this is kind of like what it looks like. So it's just a blank template for you to fill in for when you're ready. Of course, if you would rather make your own comic strips, then that's totally fine, but this is just an option for you guys if you want to use it. So you're going to need those. You're going to need something to write and draw with, and this is optional. But once you're finished telling your story, you want to bind it so that all the pages stay together. And you can do that with a stapler, you can do that with a hole puncher, you can do that with a binder clip. I have one right here, or a paper clip, whatever works for you. But you're going to want to bind it so that your papers stay together. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to show you an example that I made so you guys could kind of get an idea of what I was looking for. This is not my finished story. I just kind of wanted to show you what you can do in within these comic strip templates that I provided. Here on the first page, you see Little Red Riding Hood. I wrote, Red Riding Hood wanted to visit her grandmother one sunny afternoon, so she packed a basket of goodies and headed out. So this is Little Red Riding Hood, this is my basket. And then here I use speech bubbles to have my characters tell the story instead of narration like I did down here. And Little Red Riding Hood's mom says, "Be careful and don't talk to strangers." And here you see her little arm waving as she heads out. And "Don't worry, Mom, I won't." Down here she says, "On the way to Granny's house, Little Red Riding Hood stopped to pick some flowers when someone came up behind her." And that's all I wrote for this page, but I'm sure that you can guess who was coming up behind her. and can continue the story from there. The wolf sneaks up behind her and asks her, like, oh, what are you doing here? Where are you going? So then I jumped ahead a couple of scenes in the story, and on the second page, I wrote the conversation that Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf have together before the wolf tries to eat her, before Little Red Riding Hood realizes that the wolf is actually the wolf and that he's eaten her grandmother. So here she says, "But Granny, what big ears you have! The better to hear you with, my dear. But Granny, what big eyes you have! The better to see you with, my dear. But Granny, what big teeth you have! The better to eat you with, my dear." And as you can see, I used the speech bubble in my template to kind of emphasize what she says, because this is a big moment during the story. That's when you think that the wolf is gonna get Little Red Riding Hood. So I just wanted to show you how I was drawing, but also using writing and speech bubbles in every comic strip box. So in every one of these I had a picture and some writing, and that's kind of what I hope that you guys do. Of course, you can do whatever you prefer. It's your project and you can have fun with it. So once you're finished with your graphic novel, and the template that I'm going to provide has only 3 pages, but you can print out multiple copies if you need more. Also, what I recommend doing as a first step is figuring out what story you want to tell, and then kind of planning out what pictures and what words are going to go in each box, like I did here. And then get drawing and writing. And then when you're done, you want to take a blank piece of paper and put it on the front. Here's my first page underneath here. And put it on the front and make a nice title for your graphic novel. And then once you're done with that, you want to bind the books. So here I have a couple of options. You can do a hole puncher and use binder rings if you have those, or I have a bunch of friendship bracelet string that you can use. So you can use this with a hole puncher and tie around the holes to keep it together. You can also use a stapler or paper clips or binder clips to keep it all together. And then when you're done, I hope that you read it to your friends or family, or your friends and family read it for themselves and check out the great stories that you transformed into a graphic novel, and make sure that they enjoy your drawings, because that's a very important aspect of graphic novels. So I hope you guys enjoy and have a nice day, and stay safe, everybody. Thank you.